Hi, folks. It's Andy Stautz at Stautz Law. I am here today with the avant-garde of estate planning. I'm kidding. This talk is just kind of a thought experiment. It's not. It's not informational. It's definitely not legal advice. It's just kind of a. It's kind of a what if. So you might have seen my talk a couple weeks ago about planning around LLCs. So if you're a small business owner or you're self-employed, you've got an LLC, I talk about how you can put those in trust, make them payable on death, handle them in probate, and just kind of how to deal with that. Today, I want to float the idea that an LLC is a lot like a trust. And if you were really crazy, I think you could use an LLC to do pretty much everything that a trust does. Because think about it. Okay, what's a trust? A trust lets you separate legal and equitable title to property, and you give the trustee a set of instructions on how to administer the property for the benefit of the beneficiary, the beneficiaries. Okay, what's an LLC? Well, an LLC is an entity that controls some property according to instructions that are in an operating agreement for the benefit of the beneficial owners, who could be whomever. Like, those are pretty analogous concepts. I mean, both are ways to hold property with instructions. Now, trusts are especially favored in the law because, we've got an elaborate trust code on like how to create them, how to administer them, how to deal with situations where they're not administered properly, how to change them if they're not doing what you want to do, right? Lots of protections in the trust code. And that kind of comes from history, obviously. But it's not like in an average smooth trust administration, do you need it? But the trust code is kind of a way of hedging around the fact that trusts are highly favored in the law, right? I've talked before about how a trust is a legal fiction, right? There's no reason the government needs to let you use a trust at all, much less use a trust to avoid probate, for instance. Well, how's an LLC different? Couldn't you, in theory, make an LLC, have an operating agreement with succession terms in the operating agreement, make the interest in the LLC transferable on death, and then at death, you avoid probate because it's immediately payable. Your successor interests, your successor operator knows what to do and follows the operating agreement, and then you use the corporate code on running a business for the benefit of the shareholders. Basically, you use the corporate fiduciary code as a enforcement mechanism if you need it. How is it different? I don't think so. That's just a funny idea. I don't seriously recommend that anyone try it. And if you came to my office asking for it, I'd probably say no. But it's an interesting thought experiment. It's like, okay, what are we doing here? We are giving instructions. What do we want? We want the instructions to be followed. We want there to be an enforcement mechanism if it's not. And we want to do it as privately as possible. So the only advantage to using an LLC and having this totally separate set of rules would be if you thought there was some advantage in if there were simplicity gains or cost effectiveness gains, right? Because people write their own LLC operating agreements all the time. Most people would not dream of writing their own trust. But then it's okay, by the time you've got an LLC operating agreement sophisticated enough to be a trust substitute, it's okay, you need professional advice anyway. And so that's where you come back to. If you walk into my office and you want to plan using an LLC instead of a trust, probably won't like it. But it's a fun idea. And I think I might be the only person kind of floating it. But it's one way of thinking of the law, and I hope it's entertaining. And if you are an attorney and you do this, I would love to hear about it. And if you are a client or someone setting up your estate plan and you either have done this or you've seen someone who does this or you're interested in trying it, I would love to hear about it because it sounds fun. Okay, that's all. A goofy one for today, but reach out if you want to talk about it. This is this is not advice. This is a theoretical discussion. Okay, that's all for today. Bye now.